almost live from the CX Therapy Studio, CX Therapy Season 4.
Good morning, Max. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very, very well, Julien. How are you? How is the City of Light? How's the evening? What's going on? What's new?
You know, we got a jazzy background. You've got beautiful sunlight on your face. I know you have your milk coffee somewhere nearby. We have a very special guest today. So, I mean, how could I not be thrilled? Super excited to be here. Glad to talk to you, like every time. Everything is pretty fantastic. Do you want to maybe just recap a little bit? Because I don't want to jump in the mailbag straight away. I'd like to just remind myself really, what it is that we talked about the other day with our special, very important patient.
I can't believe the pain of it isn't emblazoned on your soul. He talked about the Swiss post office and the one time in his entire life the Swiss post office ever let him down, which neither of us could relate to on so many levels.
Very true. Very true. I remember being incredibly jealous because his biggest problem with the post office in Switzerland sounds like just a normal good day with a post office in France.
Yeah. Oh, they said they'd pick it up today and they're going to get it tomorrow. Darn.
That was actually a great story about communicating to people, about empowering staff, about following up and taking responsibility for what you were telling your customers. So I think it was a great story beyond the fact that I've been a little bit jealous.
It was a little hard for us. Yeah.
Do you mind if I call the mailbag now? Should I do that?
Let's do. I think we're going to have a follow-up question just related to this very thing.
Now it's time to open this week's mailbag.
All right, Santa, what you got in your bag?
Yes, what I just happen to have handy here. Got the mailbag. I like that, Santa. I'll get a hat. See what
You're going to have to grow the beard a little more.
Yeah. Oh, you should have seen it earlier this week. It would have been appropriate. Okay. So, email we got. From Michael Brandt's post office experience, the issue was around the agent promising something she could not deliver. Do you think this was an agent issue? Or do you think the script told her to deliver that message? Sounded like she was very confident when she made the promise. And again, the promise was that they would send out his package that day. Or pick it up. I guess it was a pickup. And they didn't end up picking it up that day, which screwed him up in a couple of ways.
You know what? I think it could have been, but whether it was the agent or not is not even the problem here. Because if it had been the agent, that's still the company's problem. Meaning that if it's not the agent, it's a company that is giving wrong instruction, the wrong tools, lack of empowerment, and all of that. If it is the agent, the only thing it tells me is either wrong recruitment or wrong training or wrong support. But at the end of the day, it's not the agent. It's never the agent. Because even a bad agent just was not the right recruits or didn't have the right training. But you can blame your people for that. It's your role to train them and give them the tools they need.
Yeah, and I got a hunch that agent will be, well, I don't know if the feedback ever got back to the agent, that she would be much less likely to promise anything going forward. Again, a recap on the situation. This was the central post office that you were able to call into where the contact center was. And they sent a message to the local branch middle of the day saying, pick this up by the end of the day. We don't know if she got some confirmation back that said, yes, we've received this, we're going to do it or not. But she just said, she sent that and said, yep, you're going to get picked up. And it was handing it off to a whole other organization, which is always fraught. So I I certainly wasn't surprised to hear that break down, and I'm not even talking about because it was the post office at that point.
Yeah, but even then, from a very simple training perspective, just the phrasing could have been different and fixed the issue. Meaning, instead of saying that's going to be picked up, you just have to say, I've sent a message and I really hope that it will be picked up, or at least I've done everything I could to make sure it will be picked up, but I can't guarantee it. Just doing that, you pretty much satisfy everyone, or at least, gave your very best, but not making promises you can keep. So I don't know. Do you think that answers the mailbag question?
I think it does. I would kind of close the whole thing with expectations are everything, and they weren't set right.
So if that answers the question, I'd like to set the stage for what comes next, because the other week we had someone from Switzerland. I'm very thrilled to tell that this week we have someone in Europe as well, even though, you know what, that's kind of one of these people with 1 foot in the US, 1 foot in Europe. So we kind of cover both of our territories, which is fantastic. But before getting into the story, I'd like to talk a little bit about something that everyone is talking about, which is automation. I have 3 pieces of statistics I'd like to share with you. You good with that?
Please, bring them on.
So the first one is coming from Zapier, and that's a pretty huge number that I'm sharing here. 88% of SMBs, that's a 2021 report, right? So lots has changed between 2021 and 2024, but it's still pretty recent. 88% of SMBs says that automation allows them to compete with larger companies. And the reason why they feel that is because you can move faster, you can reduce errors, you offer hopefully better customer support, even though I'd like to argue on that point. How do you feel about this statistic, and how do you feel if that's a 2021 number? What do you think 2024 looks like?
On the number, I think what's not included there that I think is really the case is it reduces costs, so they can do more with less. I guess that kind of offer better customer support kind of fits under that heading. I mean, I know self-service has gone up a lot since then, good, bad, or indifferent, right or wrong. Whether that makes companies more comfortable, I guess I would say I don't think it's gone up. I think SMBs budgets have been harder. The economy has been tougher. So automation is a little bit more done out of survival than competing with larger companies. So I bet that just holds.
I like that you say that, because it's a perfect transition for the next number, which is slightly lower, but way scarier. It's a no way back kind of number. Still from the same study, 66% of SMBs say that automation is now essential for running their business. So it does feel like we've hit a point where once you've deployed your AI, assuming you're happy with this, which may not be the case all the time, but once you've deployed it, you can't go back. That's, like you have your industrial era, you're not going back to the mine with an axe pick. Are we at this stage yet?
Oh, I think we've been at this stage for a long time. This doesn't say automated self-service. This is automation. So that can be automated order processing. That can be just a huge variety of stuff. So I think I think we absolutely are at a point where we're not going back. And as the technology gets better, which I think it's going to do really fast, we're going to see more and more and more.
So here is a fun stat that is also the scary stat, which this one is coming from Ring Central UK specifically. So since we're all Europeans today, 53% of Brits are regularly being left frustrated with automated customer service systems. That's from 2024. That's a study we ran earlier this year. UK specifically, we had very similar number in France as well, just so you know. And how do you feel about that? When you apply automation to customer service, are we sure yet? Is it most companies do it wrong, or is it people are just not used to it? Or Why do you see such a number? I mean, it's more than half of the people saying that.
Yeah, I mean this is a drum I just keep banging on and banging on and banging on. I could even argue that number seems low. I mean, who loves a voice response system? Chatbots, typically, adoption of chatbots has just been very slow. People try it once, it frustrates them, and then they're just like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Get me a human as quickly as possible. So that number doesn't surprise me in the least.
So that's when AI may actually change that by improving the quality of automation. But you know what we should do now is invite a guest to discuss automation with him.
Could we do that? That would make my day.
And now, please welcome this week's guest, a true CX expert.
There you are, Dave Michels.
Good evening and welcome, Dave.
Fantastic to be here, and what a great topic. I agree with Max. The 53% seemed low to me. I think that the idea of automation is very attractive. Everyone likes automation. Well, of course we want automation, but executing it properly is actually really hard, and a lot of times people get left out, and becomes very, very frustrating. So great topic.
Want to just introduce you to all the folks playing along at home here. I've known you for years, Dave. As I think of you as an independent analyst, you have the Talking Points site, but maybe just a couple sentences on what you focus on. What's your perspective on the world?
Sure. Dave Michels, Talking Points is my brand. I focus on enterprise communications broadly, which includes unified communications, contact center, CPaaS, et cetera. And, a lot going on in meetings actually right now. I love the topic. I'm passionate about this stuff, and so I love the format of your show, because anyone who really gets into this stuff needs a little bit of therapy every once in a while. There's just no question about it.
We do, for sure. So I looked at your LinkedIn profile, and you said you're a protagonist. What do you mean by that?
Well, I do a lot of writing. I write media reports, I write blogs, I write research notes, and so I consider myself largely a writer. Actually, my favorite title is attendee. I go to a lot of events, you know that, Max. So, yeah. So I sometimes just tell people I'm an attendee, but I'm a writer, and protagonist is to me a writing term, and it's the hero of the story, and there's so much confusion, there's so much muck in this space that I feel like my crusade is to make it make sense. That's my goal, and there's different people in every career. Some people do it because it's a job, and some people do it because they love it. I do it because I love it.
So I've got another question. Usually this is my last question, but you just led into it too well for me not to ask it next. Specific to customer service, but communications in general, no kid in his PJs in the morning when asked what does he want to be when he grows up says, I want to be doing customer service or enterprise communications. How did you fall into this? This is a career path that nobody embarks on intentionally at first, it seems.
That's a great question. First job out of college, I was applying to just about anything that I could, and I ended up getting hired into a small telecom startup. And the founder was an entrepreneur, classic entrepreneur, that came out of the bill system, and he was passionate about this stuff. And the way he would explain the way that it evolved and what Bell did and the Bell system and Bell Labs, and he grew up from all that, which most of us didn't. that passion just was contagious. And so I ended up getting a master's in telecom, and been on this career path ever since. I just love this stuff. It really is it's far more interesting and exciting than it would seem on the surface.
Yeah, I'm the same in terms of just falling into it. Okay, I got one last question. Your background, most of the backgrounds we have, I'm San Francisco, he's Paris. Yours is a small Portuguese town, but you still have strong roots here in the States. How is it being bicontinental?
Well, I'm a man of international intrigue and mystery, as they say. Austin Powers, one of the two. But no, I grew up not too far from you, Matt. I grew up in California, and we were living in Colorado for the last 30 years, and time to downsize, trying to figure out where to go. And we were looking all over. We looked at New Mexico, we looked on the East Coast, we looked on the West Coast, and we were going back to California. And at one point we said, why don't we go to Europe? And so it was like, wow, I never thought about that, but why not? So we started looking into Europe, and I found Cascais in Portugal. And, it's actually very similar to where I grew up in California. A lot of the wildlife, a lot of the plants are the same. It's, we're right here on the coast, not too far from a lighthouse, and I'm just really enjoying it here. It's just, and so, yeah, we got a walk-and-leave townhome in Portugal and a walk-and-leave townhome in the East Coast of the U.S., and we're living in both.
Nice.
You really need to have an offline conversation with Max about this, because I've been trying to convince him to move to Europe for a while now, unsuccessfully, as you can see. So maybe
there's nothing left. There's nothing left here, Max. There's nothing left. You missed it. It's too late. Sorry.
It's done. Everything good is gone.
It's all gone.
Well,
that's for those of you who don't know, that's a Seinfeld reference. There's nothing left of Tuscany. But no, actually, I think it's fantastic. It's a small world. Why not?
More specifically, I have not just automation, but generative AI specific question for you guys. I was looking at some numbers the other day. I've seen some market survey from early 2024 that's trying to project what the generative AI market size is going to be in 2030, which is just 6 years from now. And the numbers I've got are just breathtaking. So I'd like to get your sense of where we're going with that market, what your guts tell you, knowing that as of 2024, it's projected to be a $36 billion business just as of the end of this year. How do you feel it's going to grow by 20?
I was going to say 40 billion, but I guess that I'm going to say 100 billion. I don't know.
100 billion is your number.
I don't think it'll be still around, to be honest. I think it'll be gone. Right now, we've got two kinds of AI. We have generative AI, which is where all the excitement is, and we have what I'm calling legacy AI, which is basically everything before generative AI, every form of AI before that. And right now, everyone's like abandoning legacy AI, Siri and Alexa, they're all moving toward generative, and that's where the excitement is. But the problem is generative AI doesn't really do anything, doesn't really work. And failure after failure, we've got the human AI, humane AI pin, we've got the R1 Rabbit, we've got Bing, who was going to disrupt Google a year ago and hasn't increased their market share at all. It can't be used in any. It's not usable. It's fantastic for conversational, but it's not usable. So I'm anticipating that generative AI is going to kind of just turn into AI in general, like all the legacy AIs before it, and we're going to have to go back to that legacy AI because that's usable. That's machine learning. That's reliable. It gives it particularly in customer service. It does what it's supposed to do. And so we'll end up using generative AI to make it sound better, to make it sound more human, but it's going to all blur, and it's just going to become, and the hype is going to wear off. We're in a peak hype cycle. So I think this is all nonsense. Sorry, this is yeah.
Hey, you know what? I love that you're saying this. So come again, Max.
I said contrarian much?
Well, that's also
Just
why
a
we
little.
like it. So to you, generative AI is a meta of 2024. The number I've got here, I just could not believe it when I read it. 356 billion, which is almost 10x of what they project 2024 to be. And just in comparison, that's statistics from Statista, by the way. Just in comparison, the CX market is projected to grow to 70 billion in 2032. So 70 to 356.
Let me give you some evidence of my position here. So at Enterprise Connect 2023, which was about a year and a half ago, generative AI was still pretty new, and it was the star of the show. And everyone was saying that agents are doomed, customer service agents are doomed, and everything's going to be fully automated with generative AI in no time. Enterprise Connect 2024, which was 4 months ago, something like that, 3 months ago, generative AI was the star of every enterprise, of every keynote, and every keynote opened with contact center, which was the first time that's ever happened. And not one of them was displacing agents. There's already this doesn't really displace agents. You know, it does great summarization. We can save a few seconds here. It does great agent assist and stuff like that. But not one of them was suggesting that you replace agents at all. So we're already seeing this. And in fact, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, he predicted when this was all new that customer service agents would be the first to be, displaced by OpenAI. He was wrong. The first to be displaced, its biggest impact has really been in software development. And it's changing software development dramatically. In customer service, it's fairly incremental. It's pretty minor changes. And I think we've already seen that, and we're less than 2 years into it. And there's no evidence that it's going to get better at hallucinations. It's going to get, in fact, we've seen the opposite. We've seen a couple of spectacular failures. And so I think that they're struggling. OpenAI just announced that they're going to put more of it available for free. They're not making money. Why are they doing that? Because they're desperately trying to find a use case that works, and they can't find one. I mean, other than software development and copywriting, there's a few others, but it's not proving to be. I mean, I think it was Zuck at Meta said that OpenAI is going to solve climate change. Not OpenAI. Generative AI is going to solve climate change and poverty. It's like 0%. We're not making any progress there. This thing is so overhyped, and all the money, it's sucking up all the money, and all the investment right now is in this area, and it just isn't paying for itself. It's not earning its keep, and so I think there's going to be a bit of a correction.
Okay, I don't want to go too deep, but I want to argue a little bit. What I am seeing in production is the frequently asked question sort of application.
Yes.
Generative, only answer from this. And that's something I'm seeing in production and being real. And sometimes just agent.
That is a great use case. I think you're referring basically to topic modeling, and that's a great use case. And that's one of I would put that right up there with summarization. It's one of the big, powerful things. Again, it's really incremental. And I think with the example I want to talk about today, I think we're going to get into that specifically. So
I'm going to make one quick comment, and then I think we jump into the story here. It's been a year and a half. To be more than incremental within a year and a half of the release of a technology like this, I think you're setting a bar awfully high for what you expect to see so far.
I was going to say,
just a couple responses to that, Max. Most technologies, cars, air conditioner, whatever, most technologies get faster, better, cheaper over time, right? That's what we normally do. I'm not sure that generative AI falls into that category. It might. I think everyone's expecting it to, but there's no evidence that it will. And the big caveat here is we don't understand it. The people at OpenAI don't understand, right? Nobody really understands this stuff. And now we're trying to get into, when you program a computer, let's say you're trying to sort numbers, low to high. the way I was taught how to do that as when doing programming is how does a human do it? Well, you compare two numbers at a time, and then you kind of sort them, and you put one in a temporary space, and then you go to the next two numbers, and you keep on doing that, and the computer can do that very quickly. We understand we're basically modeling after human behavior. Now we're trying to teach computers how to think and be intelligent. We don't understand how humans think and be intelligent. We have no manual that we're working toward. And so we don't understand the technology. We don't understand what we're building. Oh, we need more data. No, we need more processing. No, we need more time. It's already taken up pretty much all the capital, all the resources, it's sucking up so much resources. It's unbelievable. And it's not paying us yet. And so the assumption is it's going to, but at what point? I mean, like I said, we haven't even nailed a great use case yet. And so I think it's gonna, at best, it's gonna be a while. At worst, it's gonna fizzle.
I feel there is a painful story behind all this. Let's jump into story time.
Gather around, folks. It's time for guest CX story.
So, Dave, make yourself comfortable on the CX therapy couch. Tell us what happened.
So I want to clarify, this is not a generative AI story. This is just a automation story. And I think a lot about automation because when it's not there, it's so obvious it should be. It's like, why don't they automate that? I can just see a great example. I travel a lot. A great example is going to an airline club. All they do is scan your ticket and they determine whether you come in or not. Oh, you can come in. You can come in. It's like that should be automated. And now they've started to do that, and it never works right. And so it seems like it should be. It seems like it would be so easy. It should be just so trivial. And so it's easy to want automation, but it's really hard to understand how complicated in the use cases that can foil this stuff. And so I want to share an experience. All my stuff is travel related. Professional attendee, as I mentioned earlier. One of my destinations I frequent is the Gaylord Palms in Orlando, and I know Max has been there. I know others. A lot of events take place there, and it's a any Orlando hotel is a family-oriented hotel for Disney, but the Gaylord Palms is a little more business-oriented. It's got a big conference center. A lot of business events take place there, and I'm very proud of my Gaylord Palms expertise. I tell people I know the shortest path between any two points in that hotel. And it's funny, somebody will say they're going off, and I say, where are you going? And you're going the wrong way. You should go this way, that way, go that back stairs. They're like, holy cow, how do you know that? So I really know this hotel. I take a lot of pride in this hotel and how much I know. Well, these conferences are all-day events, and you're up late, and you have to get up early in the morning. And so I get back to my room at night, and I look at my calendar for the morning, and I discover that I have a meeting in the room, in the Gainesville room. And I don't know where the Gainesville room is. I said, wow, there's a room in this hotel, a meeting room in this hotel. I don't know where it's at. And the meeting was at 7 in the morning. It's like it's already 1 in the morning. So I either have to figure this out now or in the morning. And I know myself, we're going to solve this now at 1 in the morning, because I'm not going to deal with this at 6:50 in the morning trying to figure out where the Gainesville is. A big hotel. And so I'm thinking, how do I solve this? How do I solve this? And then I remembered when I checked in for the first time, and I checked in there often, they actually handed me a little fold-up map of the hotel. I've never done that before. I thought, oh, it's new. And I said, wait, where is it? And I'm looking around my room, and sure enough, I found it, unfolded the map, and it had the whole hotel. It had all the wings. I think there's like 3 wings, 4 wings, that's 5 wings. And then it has the conference center, and it did have meeting rooms throughout this map. That's great. All right. Could not find Gainesville. I'm looking all over and cannot find Gainesville. So struck out there. Well, the only thing left to do now is to call front desk. So I go to my phone, and there's a button on the phone that says, ask me anything, something like that. Well, this is perfect. So hit the ask me anything, and I got Ava bot, the Marriott self-service bot. Now this is, I know you're expecting mostly contact center type of stuff, but this is not a self-service bot. This qualifies, I think, in your context of therapy.
No, this is a customer experience.
Completely.
Exactly. So I asked Ava bot where the Gainesville room is. And AvaBot was extremely friendly and extremely helpful and extremely quick and very promptly provided me instructions how to watch Netflix in my room. And not only did Ava helpfully provide me instructions on how to watch Netflix, but it didn't even do the did I answer your question? They're not even collecting data whether this thing's working. It moved right to the presumptive close. Is there anything else I can help you with? It's like, so that was a little frustrating because you think they'd want to know if this thing was even working. And so I asked again, and there was a few other iterations with the bot, and I finally said, give me a human. And a human comes on the line. And again, this is 1:20 in the morning at this point. And somebody answers the phone and says, how can I help you? And I said, I'm trying to find the Gainesville room. You know where it is? I can't figure out where it is. And he says, oh, you should install our app. And they have an app. And I've seen it advertised in the elevator. I made fun of it because I know this hotel better than anybody. There's an app in the elevator. It's like, install our app to find out where rooms are. And it's like, no, I don't need that. It's like, look, it's past 1 in the morning. I've already tried your fold-out app. I've already tried your bot. I'm not going to install your app. Tell me where the frickin' room is. And he goes, okay, hold on. And he comes back and he tells me where the room is. Great. And I was really thinking about this. It's like, this is a business hotel. There's events, and in fact, I've stayed after these conferences for a few extra days in Joy, Florida. And like immediately when one conference leaves, another conference comes in. I mean, it's back to back, and they have meeting rooms all over. This has got to be a fairly reasonably common request about where to find rooms. And I was thinking, why is this so hard? And so I did a little more experimentation we could talk about here. But I'm thinking to myself that somebody in, I think it's Maryland where Marriott is headquartered. I think someone in Marriott probably has their feet up on their desk saying, I got that Ava thing installed. That is nailed it. I nailed it. And now everyone knows how to watch Netflix. And it goes back to that point I was making earlier, that automation is a lot harder than people think it is. And so that was my story, and I'll let you guys chime in. Cheers.
But look at the silver lining. The Netflix adoption rate has never been better since they set up this new chatbot. So there is good things in your story. Wow. In the end, just to close on this one, to make sure I get this right, after the guy explained how to get to the room, was it simple enough that he could tell you in a few words over the phone, or did he have to send you very complex instructions for you to find it?
Well, that's a good question. That's probably why he wanted me to install the app. But because, again, I know the hotel pretty well, so he basically just referred to a few landmarks and so I was fine. But the thing is, Max brought up the topic modeling earlier with generative AI. Because this is AvaBot's not a generative AI bot. This is a traditional bot, and I don't think hotels know why people are calling. I don't think they know what the common questions are, and this is obviously, well, it wasn't obvious at the time. So I did a little more testing. I was curious whether this was a Gaylord Palms bot or if it was a Marriott bot. As in like it only could answer basic. Same questions everywhere. So I did a little more testing. And if you've ever stayed at the Gaylord Palms, they have live alligators in the lobby. And it's a really popular attraction. Families just love to bring the kids. And there's a sign there about what time they feed the alligators. So you can see them eat live. And So I figured one of the most common questions they must get is, when do you feed the alligator? So I called back, gave it back, and just do a little bit of testing, and to see whether they knew when they feed the alligator. And of course, it didn't. It had no clue what an alligator was, and I forget what it thought I was asking about. But the point is that I don't think businesses understand why people call. And Max brought up earlier, he said frequently asked questions. And if you think about it, there shouldn't be any frequently asked questions, because it's easy to say that people are frequently going to ask when the alligators are fed. But because you know that, you put signs up, and maybe you train your staff, and you train your staff, and you have signs up, and you put a card in the room, and you do things, and then the question goes away. If you know what your frequently asked question is, it shouldn't be a frequently asked question. It should go away. The whole concept of a frequently asked question is nonsense. It should not exist. You should be able to address these frequently asked questions in advance. Right. And that's where generative AI actually has a potentially good, powerful play, because it could listen to phone calls, it could listen to inquiries, it could listen to text chats, and figure out what are people asking. It's like, hey, we have a lot of people asking where the Gainesville room is. Maybe we should make that fold-out map. Maybe we should put that on there. Maybe we should put it in the bot. Maybe we should do things, because it's obviously a frequently asked question. They know at that hotel that people get lost. They gave me a map when I checked in. They know people get lost. But they never put two and two together. Maybe we should put all the rooms, all the meeting rooms on this map. And so I think that that's one great use case for generative AI, which would still make, this goes back to my earlier point, the older technology is fine. The legacy AI is fine. It just wasn't trained properly. And how would you train it properly is, well, you have to know what people are asking. And I think that's where generative AI could help with this topic modeling. Is that what you meant earlier, Matt, when you were talking about frequently asked questions?
Yeah, it was. And this is so automation 101. It's just over the top. I remember I did a report a couple of years ago about chatbots, and I started with the premise that maybe a stupid bot would be a smart idea. And the concept being, do something quick and simple, and it's helpful, and that's going to save you, and then you build from that base. And when I started calling people, this was like late 21, early 22, guess what drove people to build their chatbots? It was COVID. And one example was an airline where their hold times went to 19 hours.
Yeah.
So they went through, guess what they did? They very quickly figured out what people were calling about. And they took the 10 questions that were half the calls, and they automated those, put them into a chatbot, and they saved themselves 6 hours. The obvious convenience to the customer, which is really important, is there. But my goodness, what's the cost savings of this guy at 1 a.m. for everybody who won't download the app, which they shouldn't? There's the motivation shouldn't just be, wow, this is a good thing to do. There's huge money to be saved with that kind of thing.
So yeah, it's such a, and that brings me back to my soapbox on frequently asked questions, right? And so your example, they figured out their 10 questions and they solved them, and they made them more answerable, and made the answers more discoverable. And so whatever you hear about, check out our FAQ, check out whatever, it's like, well, that's immediately telling me you guys don't know what you're doing. You've just admitted that you're ignorant. If you should be telling me the answers to your frequently asked questions, then they won't be frequently asked. And so I think that there's that whole thing. And then I've had this conversation with other people, and one of the first questions I get is, well, generative AI will solve that. And I was like, well, no. It probably won't. For one, and this is another thing that's ridiculous at this particular hotel, they've named all their meeting rooms after nearby cities. It's probably equally common to ask some people, how do I get to Gainesville? and and expect the answer to be some interstate, and go north and go south, and
which
I mean,
is
the
the size of that hotel.
there's these rooms that are after the cities nearby. And so I'm thinking generative AI would be very helpful. I'll tell you how to get the answer. Exactly what you're asking, and tell me how to go. And then the worst part, of course, with generative AI is if it doesn't know, it'll give you very realistic, convincing directions, and go past the red farm and then turn right. That's completely made up and fictitious. And so we've got all kinds of problems with generative AI doing the bot by itself. And so so I don't think generative AI is going to necessarily solve it. But I really think that the issue here, and it goes back to, you said with your stupid bot, I think that, I could see them at Marriott saying, a lot of people are calling about how to watch Netflix. We don't know how to solve it. We should automate that. And they create that solution. And again, their high five celebration, they nailed it. But the problem is, once you created that solution and once you direct your calls, and I'll remind you, the phone said, ask me anything. It didn't say, ask me about Netflix. It said, ask me anything. And so asking, and I didn't even ask about anything. I didn't ask about, the sports scores or whatever. I'm asking something about the hotel that I'm staying at. And they didn't anticipate that. And so they created that sense of frustration. And I don't know. It's just, I don't even know where to start with it, because it's so clear to me that they understand the problem. How many hotels do you go to where they actually give you a map when you check in? They understand the problem, but they didn't solve it. And this is the problem with a lot of automation. And so you create a solution to solve parts of it. And so they should have, for example, after it gave me the Netflix instructions, it should have said, did I answer your question? Yes or no? And then they should be monitoring how often it's no. And it's like, well, this is frustrating our customer. They should have been able to figure that out. But they're not collecting that information. They're just going with the close. How else can I help you? And then the fact that they printed the map to solve the problem, it's just mind-boggling. Let's not put all the rooms on there. They're just mind-boggling.
But listening to your story, I see, if I just focus on the bot piece specifically, I see two things they did wrong and one thing they actually did right that many companies miss. The two things they did wrong completely aligned with you. Giving answers without checking whether the answer was what the customer was looking for is a huge mistake for the customer, because it creates frustration, but for the company itself, because you never know whether your bot is even working in the first place, which should be the first step, because you know that even if your bot is fantastic, the questions are going to vary and evolve over time. You're going to have to feed it with more things. So you need to have that feedback. First mistake. Second thing is, as you said, it's not to ask me anything if you only have 3 topics that you can cover. And that's back to something we cover very often on the show, which is setting the expectations. If your expectations is ask me anything, then make sure you can answer anything, which chatbots can do today. And I'm with you with the generative AI as of today. Generative AI can probably answer anything, but you're going to have to ask yourself whether the answer is truthful or not. So setting the expectation is the second point. But they did something right, which very many companies do wrong, I feel, is if I get your story straight, there was a proper handover. You've been telling the bot, look, you're not helpful. Let me talk to a human being. And you've been put in touch immediately with a human being, which is one of the main frustrations that people have with chatbots, is that you end up in a spiral of frustration where you can never talk to a human agent and you keep repeating the same question and getting the same answer from chatbot. Here, at least, the chatbot says, okay, I got it wrong. Here is a human being. And hopefully there was some kind of handover. We've not covered that. I'm not sure whether you had to re-explain the whole thing or the agent actually knew it. But you can kind of forgive a robot not to do it right if they give you the hint to actually fix your problem without telling you, call a different number or try a different channel. Here, I just hand you over to someone who actually has the answer for you. And it feels like from that perspective, at least, that was well done.
there was no handoff between the bot and the human, but I don't mind that. I think the bot was confused, so I'm not sure how useful that would have been anyway. But the human did something that humans do that bots don't do, and the human knew the right answer right off the bat and said install the app, and that is a reasonable answer. Well, I'm not your tour guide. We have an app. It's advertised in the elevators. Install the app. It'll tell you how to get there. Not only will it tell you where it is, it'll even help you navigate on the way there. That's a reasonable response for a hotel employee at 1 a.m, whatever. But I pushed back and I said, look, I've already tried. I tried the self-service. I tried your map. I've tried your bot, and I'm exhausted now, and I'm done trying. I want the frickin' answer. And he said, okay, hold on, and I'll get it. And that's that empathy part. That's the part that humans are particularly good at. And so, and he obviously didn't know the answer. He had to go figure out, hey, where's the gains going? But and came back and told me, which was fine. But the that's the other part that we didn't really talk about, where bots just don't understand the situation. And I didn't particularly have, the bot was nice enough to give me a human, but that's one thing that we expect from the human is a little more empathy. And a lot of bot makers now with generative AI are using the E word, the empathy word, and I'm not sure I buy that.
No.
I think when they say that, it'll detect some stress in your voice or something like that, and might say, I'm sorry about that, whatever. But being able to understand that the one answer, go install the app, is no longer appropriate is a hard thing for the bot to understand. And so
one point where I agree with you here is, we've been talking about this with Max for a while. Even human agents that use all the right words to tell you how sorry they are because they are reading a script telling them to tell they are sorry. When you don't feel it in their voice, that they actually believe it, that they're actually sorry, that they actually want to help you, it has no impact whatsoever on you. Eventually, it would even frustrate you even more, because you are actually talking to a human robot that tells you they are sorry, but ultimately they don't care. So when it's a bot telling you they are sorry, however beautifully it might be written, I tend to agree. It's going to be hard to feel like they care and that they are sorry about what's happening to you.
You just touched on another nerve, totally unrelated to this particular incident, but I just sat through an hour-long presentation from a headset maker. I'll leave them unnamed. And they were trying to convince me that the way that the agent talks, their tone, their empathy is more important than their knowledge. And I had a real tough time with that one. And I, at 1:30 in the morning, 1:20 in the morning, I keep on explaining it as we go into the conversation. At 1:15 in the morning, I wasn't looking for a kind, I have no idea what the Gainesville room. I was looking for where the hell is the Gainesville room. And I think most people, when they are calling in contact center, are looking for the right answer. And when they told me that their tone and their attitude, and they were selling this AI technology that listens to the agents and says this is the most important thing you have, and it's like, no, I think actually having the right answer is probably a little more important than that. But maybe I'm an outlier.
No, Dave, you're not an outlier. I promise you on that one. It's interesting though. I think prior to saying that, you were making a very strong point that empathy maybe is a strong number 2. But yeah, I don't, unless I'm calling a weird 800 number, I'm not calling a contact center to make a new friend. I'm calling because I got a problem or a question. I just want an answer or a solution, period.
Yeah, I think the issue there is, what does empathy mean? And so I was praising the human for understanding not to push the app on me. I was understanding. It's like, okay, he's done his self-service attempt. I'm going to get him an answer and whatever. Some people will use empathy just to talk about, oh, I'm sorry, or that's great news, or throwing in a little bit of emotional words in their text. But I'm actually talking more about the action that it took, and I think that
ultimately that's what matters. You're spot on, absolutely right.
Unfortunately, time flies incredibly fast. So, do you have any closing thoughts, any additional points you'd like Max to add to make Dave feel a little bit better about his 1 a.m. story, bedtime story?
Bedtime story. I feel like we covered it pretty thoroughly.
Dave, how do you feel about all this? Was it therapeutic in a way?
It definitely was, and as when I put back on my CX hat, my advice is to really think through your automation efforts, because I think that it always seems easy. There was a survey, I was poking fun of it on LinkedIn. There was a survey that said, most customers are willing to accept AI if it solves their problems. And it's like, well, of course, if it solves their problems, of course they're willing to accept AI. But it's a big if, and I think that's where the focus really needs to be. It shouldn't be whether we should use AI or not AI, or automate or not automate. It should be, can we do it? Is the technology able to actually do it or not? And that's where the conversation really needs to be. And a place like Marriott, they've got lots of hotels, and a lot of them should be pretty simple, just a basic Netflix bot. But a big resort like this, with this many rooms and this many locations and all this stuff, they need to think through a little more about the types of questions they're going to be getting on that thing. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we're going to get tons of people within the industry listening to that and taking actions on your suggestions, Dave. Thank you very much for the insights. Hopefully that was a very therapeutic session for you. That was an inspirational one for us, at least for sure. For everyone watching, a big thank you for being with us again this week. Please send your questions, because Sentabel is going to come back with his mailbag next month and take all the questions. You can do LinkedIn, you can do email, you can even do fax. He's got all the equipment in his office now.
That's right.
Looking forward to seeing you guys again very soon. Dave, a big thank you. And Max, talk to you in a bit then.
Thank you both, and thank you everyone. Take care.